All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning for the first part of this Discovery Fidelity Scale, the Discovery Fidelity Scale training. This will be the first part of a couple of different trainings that'll be going on in April and May. I just wanted to do an announcement. I know I sent out a couple of different emails about it. The way things are scheduled, basically we're all in this training this morning, and then you'll each have one other time slot that you'll have later this week. So if you didn't get that in today or you have questions about it, definitely let me know and we'll get things sorted out. But that's kind of the structure for the training this week. In a couple of weeks, we'll have a Q&A section on this, and then we'll do kind of the same structure with the job development fidelity scale training in May. So again, if you have questions, let me know, but that's kind of the plan for this week. I will be recording this session, so if you want to come back and record it or review it, just let me know. I'll be able to send this link out to you guys. Just a couple of other housekeeping things. For this training, we want you guys to keep muted. This is more of just kind of an overview sort of training, so there won't be a lot of dialogue back and forth. But for the trainings later this week, you can go ahead and stay unmuted. Because they will be a little bit more conversational kinds of trainings. The other thing is we are requesting that you have your video on if at all possible, just to increase engagement and things like that. So if you don't have your video on and you're able to, please go ahead and do that now. And for the trainings later this week. So with that, if there aren't any questions, I will go ahead and introduce Dr. Stephen Hall, who is going to be our trainer for today's and the rest of the week's sessions on the Discovery Fidelity Scale training. So we're really happy to have Dr. Hall. He's getting ready to retire here in May. So we got him right before he's leaving. So we were happy to get that worked out that way. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to you. Thank you.
Great, gracious as always. Thanks so much, Jordan. So let's talk about this, what we're doing. So this is called phase 1. So it starts with this little 45-minute piece where I talk about the background, why we're doing this, and how this might be different than some other trainings and things you've been to before. So phase 1 will be these trainings we have during the week, and this is just the beginning 45 minutes of those. And so I'll be going through the scale, all the tenets, go through them in some detail. And those trainings are about, I think, 2.5 hours each. We have a break in the middle of that. And so that's to go through this scale. And then Jordan, did you get a copy of the manual for this?
Nope, I have the fidelity scale. I didn't get a copy of the manual.
Okay. So if you wouldn't mind sending me an email and just say, hey, Steve, be sure to get a manual. So a manual, you won't need it until after all these trainings are done, but you'll get a copy of a manual, and that will go into more detail in scoring. And what it is, it's a user's manual. So it's like anybody having trouble sleeping during the COVID time and all that, people need to take Ambien, whatever people are taking, just throw the Ambien away, whatever. Any trouble sleeping, just open up that manual, just start reading it, and you'll be out like a baby in 3 to 4 pages. So see, it's not meant to be read cover to cover. It's meant to be, hey, I can't decide if I need to score this a 1 or a 2 or whatever it may be, and it's to go in there, and it has examples and more details, and it's helpful. It's only for you. It's only to help with your scoring of it. So we'll get you that. And then also, Jordan, do you have a copy of the cheat sheet? Okay, so again, if you'd write that, and I'm very sorry they don't have it. Again, not necessary now. That's not even necessary till way down to the next training, but I like to get this stuff to people early. The cheat sheet just takes all the tenets in the scale, and then it reduces them all into just one single question. And the one single question, and that cheat sheet should be given to whoever it is that's delivering discovery. Now that is almost never the DFS administrator. It's not the same person that's delivering discovery. The DFS administrator is a VR counselor or a someone in authority, a financing authority, a supervisor at a community provider agency, that's the kind of folks that are DFS administrators. But for the people that are actually delivering this work, that are doing that, then that's what that cheat sheet is for. That cheat sheet says, hey, if you're answering these questions, these just 15 questions, if you answer these 15 questions, then you're likely delivering discovery with fidelity to best practice. So anyway, know that, and that's just for them. So want it to go out from you though, as a DFS administrator, so that you're giving it to whoever is going to be actually doing discovery. So, okay, so phase one, again, what's going to happen this week? Phase two is a question and answer session. At the question and answer session, it happens, I guess, in May. So the question and answer session, you should invite a few employment specialists to that meeting. Usually the number on the screen for sure doubles, but not like today doubles, but I mean doubles in those groups. Usually we have between 7 and 10 people on the screen that day. And it's for those folks to come, and we just start talking about, well, how things are going, because of COVID, we couldn't do this and that, and we'll talk about all the different things I've heard, because I'm now working in 9 states, with Virginia coming online next month. It'll be 10. And so I know I'm with a lot of people, a lot of days just like this, and hearing a lot of things people are saying. So I'll offer some different advice that I've learned from other places about how to deal with both the pandemic, coming out of the pandemic, and all that may mean. So that Q&A session, people are usually pretty well love that, because first of all, they don't have to hear me rattle on and on and on for 2.5 hours like you will this week for each session. Instead, it'll be other folks talking. And then we go to what's called phase 3. And phase 3 is one-on-one technical assistance with me, or the person who will be doing this work besides me. And I will let you know, I cannot tell you who that person is, but if I had to pick one person on planet Earth to take over my work, this is the person that I would pick. So know that I am thrilled to death. Complete surprise to me who the person is, but I'll let you know. I will probably never let you know until that person actually makes a decision when they want to know about that. So anyway, we will be doing this work, so it won't miss a beat. Anyway, that one-on-one technical assistance happens, and people love that, because what that one-on-one technical assistance is this: you score the fidelity scale, you give it to me, and then we go over it, changing 5 or 6 of the scores. And you're thinking, oh, now I get it. Now I see, and that's how that works. And that's the actual one that will be sent into the research project. So that's how this kind of works and kind of rolls out over the months ahead. Now, why are we even doing this for? Why are we doing this? What is this fidelity scale? What is it? What is this? How's this different than anything else we've done before? Well, here's the big difference. Everybody's got great ideas. And some of those people that have great ideas are really good at talking about the great ideas, and really good at writing about the great ideas, and are really powerful people, maybe are in government, or maybe a full professor at a university that really, really is smart. And a lot of people are real smart and have really good ideas, like Kerry Griffin and Michael Callahan, who started customized employment, convinced the United States government to include customized employment in the rehabilitation reauthorization. I mean, these are smart people, right? Everybody's got great ideas. Everybody has great things that people can do. And again, if they're charismatic enough in what they have to say, people think, oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I get this. Yeah, oh, wow, they got the information here. This is good. I think I want to do that. That's not what this is. What this is based on data, based on interviews, based on a consensus of experts, and we publish that. Well, that's another thing, Jordan, I'm sorry, is that be sure that I send you the published work we have on how we went about the scale and what experts think of it. So published in the Journal of Vocational Rehabilitation. Here's what experts think about this. So we listened to what experts thought. We interviewed people. We did focus groups with people, like with job development. We did focus group with job developers, again, across multiple states. So we found out what people really think, and found out what really is getting in the way of these citizens having good jobs, good wages, and implementing the promises of customized employment. So we came up with the scale that has the most salient characteristics, the main points that you need to go. This is like a skeleton. There's a whole bunch more to customized employment than this, but you got to hit these things. Like these things are most important. The scale will have systems tenants. Systems tenants, it has to do with the system, and it will have services tenants. Systems tenants mean, oh, these things need to happen in this way, or they start interfering with even people's best work. And the services tenants, like, here's how to do your best work by at least doing these things. So again, it's about data fidelity. What we're talking about, we're going to do this because the data and the research is saying that. Now, here's the really good news, because you actually will all be the first group where this has actually happened. We now have enough research in that we're publishing in the rehabilitation, a different journal, the rehabilitation journal. We're publishing our first research based on this scale across 7 states and what's happened and what the data is showing us is going on. And so that's quite exciting. So up until this point, we could say, well, we're giving our best shot at what we think are these tenants based on what everybody is saying and what everybody thinks this may be, and based on what and all these now I guess hundreds of interviews and focus groups and all that. We're saying what we think this should be. What's the data say? And now we can say, and here's what the data says. And so that published article, obviously I wouldn't be talking about it so much if it wasn't thrilling, because it's fantastic. And what it says is this: hey, on 12 of the 15 tenants for discovery fidelity scale, solid, you got it. 3 of them need some more work. 1 of them, by the way, is so lousy that you need to get rid of it. It's actually interfering with the reliability of the scale. And so we have, so know that, and I'll show you which one that is as we go through over these next weeks, which tenant, when the new revised discovery scale comes out in May, it won't even be there. 2 other tenants will be changed, and I'll talk to you about a little bit about what those changes are, so you can expect that. But as for now, we'll go right with as it is now. Obviously, I won't spend a lot of time or hardly any time with the tenant we're getting rid of and the others. But we're getting, anybody that's a statistical geek, is that we're getting a Cronbach alpha score of 0.81 on this thing, and which says that this thing is reliable. It's saying that how they're scoring in Rhode Island, how they're scoring in Virginia, how they're scoring in California, how they're scoring in South Dakota, how they're scoring in Iowa, Michigan, Florida, the different states, then is the same. Is that we're coming up with these same reliable scores, that both having predicting whether the outcomes are what we think they should be or not. So know that. Another journal article is coming out on the job development fidelity scale. And so again, as soon as these articles come out and are available for us to distribute, we'll do that. So that's what makes this different, is that it's not based on what somebody thinks, but what we have in real data. Okay, DFS administrators should use it. I mentioned the cheat sheets. Okay, let's just keep going. Okay, now what I'm doing now, I don't know if you have a copy of the scale. Jordan, you said you sent them that, right? Now, I don't know if you have a copy of the scale or not, but I'm just going to go through a few pages. I have notes and things I want to maybe emphasize. Let's see. The scale, by the way, is can be used for adults or people in school for students. It can be used in other countries. Can be used across a whole lot. I guess a whole lot of folks. I'll save some of the other things. But what's nice is we're really getting the data back on who is in customized employment and what's happening. So some of that is also exciting about details. Again, reliability means, hey Russell, good morning. Reliability means that the person is all of you know Russell already, probably, most folks. Okay, So Russell will be helping me with the, the other days, as I mentioned before, as Jordan and I were talking about in the days that are ahead. So reliability means that when this is scored, we know that that it's being interpreted in the same way across multiple people doing it. So that means that the data really holds up. And validity means that it correlates with the outcomes. It means what you said would happen actually does happen. So that's what the idea of reliability and validity is. How long this takes? We've always said, between 24 and 60 hours, about 40 hours to do discovery, somewhere around there. What the data is saying is it's taken more like 8 to 14 weeks, taking longer, but we think that's mostly because that so many people are doing it right for the first time, and so it's taking longer. We still think that 5 to 9 weeks will, in the end, it'll come more closely to that. But for right now, it's 8 to 14 weeks. Folks are taking. Obviously, with the COVID getting away, it's taken a lot longer than that. Again, mentioned it works for people who are still in school. Just know that also the discovery. The only point of discovery is employment. It's not a readiness tool. It's not a type of evaluation or assessment. In fact, it's an alternative to evaluation and assessment. There's nothing assessing or evaluation about it. But as it relates to folks in school, folks can work evenings, weekends, holidays, during the summer. In other words, it's not like, well, let's do this because it's really great. And we've had teachers everywhere saying, oh, we love it, we love it, love it. But we're saying, nice, loving it. Yeah, I understand you're getting lots of information you never get before. Oh, I understand the process is really working, but that's not its purpose. Its purpose is a job that is a good job, one that lasts. That is the ideal person's ideal conditions of employment. This is skipping ahead. This is skipping ahead to late May when we have this session, to the job development fidelity scale. Here's what VR counselors and supervisors have said to me in different states. We always thought we were doing job development, and sure, we've paid out millions, at this point, billions in the country for something that we were all calling job development. And you know what? We weren't doing job development at all. We thought we were. We called it job development. We all in our minds thought job development's what we're doing. But what we're finding out is what we were doing is job finding. So know that the only purpose of discovery is for it to, every word of it, to be used by the person that's going to do customized job development, to stop doing job finding services. Find them a job, find them a job, find them I heard about an opening over here. Oh, they're open here. It's not a market method of doing it. It's about finding the person's ideal conditions of employment. Going to a place where just about everybody there that works there has the same exact vocational theme as the employment seeker. So again, a very, very different process. Know this, our data is showing this. When you start out with discovery and you start doing it right, you meet in the home, you do all the things that have to do with discovery. You have folks working with less familiar activities and more familiar activities and that. 1 out of 3 people get a job during informational interviews. They jump to the job. They're like, woohoo, guess what? We went out, again, after working with a person within discovery, we went out and guess what? The employer, the first place we went, they said, well, he can work here or she can work here, and everybody's happy and woohoo, and the counselor's going, yeah, status 26. Now we're rocking. Now we're talking about it. We don't have to pay for job development. We're all good now. No, you're not good now. No, that's awful, because what ends up happening 6 months, 8 months, 10 months down the road, same old stuff. Lost their job, not enough hours, things not working well. and the person's out of work because what happens was that the dynamic between an employment specialist that really knows what they're doing, working with the folks, when they approach that employer, they can sense right off the bat, employer, this is a very different situation than what's happened with support employment and other placement type methodologies. I really like this. These people really know each other. I want to be a part of this. They say yes. We don't want them to say yes. It's an informational interview, something very, very different. Well, isn't the point to find a person a job? No, it is not. It is not the point to find a person a job. The point is only to find a person the ideal conditions of employment so they get a job that lasts, that pays well, that's going to work, where they're going to learn things, all the kinds of things that happened to any of us when we got a good job. So that's the big, big difference. Okay, so during this whole discovery process, let me go over just a few of the things. Okay, I hit it heavy. It's not another form of situational assessment. Oh, I think I know what this is. No, it's not. There's nothing about that. This is assessing or evaluating. And that's going to be really, really hard for us because our whole brains are wired that when we interact with citizens that have significant needs, that we begin evaluating them and finding out, well, what's their needs and that stuff. This is not that. It doesn't do that. We're going to have to do that. No, we're saying don't do that. Don't do that. I mean, I've even had, again, working again now in 9 states, even had folks say, I couldn't resist. I know this was working, but this would be our counselor, but I went ahead and authorized an evaluation anyway, because I just was so used to it. And you're right. All the evaluation told us was what the person couldn't do. And it didn't do anything that was helpful. Again, a waste of taxpayer money. So again, this begins challenging how we go about doing things by getting away from that idea of approaching another human being and saying, I need to assess or evaluate you to find out what's right and what's wrong with you in some way, what you can and can't do. I need to find that out before I go any further with you. And that is not what this is about, not what discovery is about, not what custom employment's about. And that's a hard one. That's a really hard one to get our heads on that way, going that way. I couldn't understand it. When Carrie Griffin first explained it to me, whatever, I guess a dozen years ago, it was like, so customized. I mean, like customized, that means you make the job up, okay, you do a lot of, you make it just right for the person or something. What's this customized part? And what it really is talking about, it's extremely highly individualized. So that's what we'll learn about, over these next several days. It's about, financial stability for the person. It's about trying to get a much better understanding. You're trying to know, who is this person? Who is this person? Not what they can do. Who is this person? Who are they? Yeah, interests are important. Yeah, sure. Some of the usual suspects, interests, skills. Yeah, sure. Good to know skills. Good to know what they already can do. But to know this, not a one of you on the screen, and me and Russell included, not a one of us knew how to do our job before we got it. Because every good job, you do not have the skills to do it when you get the job. And yet that's what we've been doing with people with disabilities forever. Oh, just be sure they got the skills. Wouldn't want to disappoint the business. Nobody in the world ever gets a job like that, except for people with disabilities, where they get a job. Hey, by the way, you get a job here. By the way, you're never going to really learn anything, because all we're going to do is exploit whatever whatever your skills are you have now. None of us do that. Instead, we learned everything after we really learned how to do a job. After we had education, sure, we had all kinds of things that got us a job, but we actually learned how to do the job once we got it. And that's exactly how this works. Just know that the discovery report is not a balanced picture. Oh, this is what they're good at. Here's their strengths and weaknesses. No, this whole thing is loaded all the way on strengths, all the way. It's a positive portrayal of the person, as it comes about. Let's see. So no OJT needed, none of that stuff, you know. And by the way, anything you hear me even slightly criticize over the next couple months that we're working together across the various groups, no, I have done every single mistake or thing wrong that could ever be done in trying to help people with disabilities because I didn't know. Remember, I'm a graduate of the National Rehabilitation Research and Training Center on Support Employment and Workplace Supports. I'm Paul Wayman's doc student who began supported employment. So know that, oh, I operated the largest, didn't know at the time, the largest integrated community employment program in the nation with 36 employment specialists full-time every day delivering supported employment, getting around 300 folks jobs a year. So believe me, I've done all things. And I wish I knew what I knew today about customized employment. Customized employment wasn't around then because I'm really old. And so so support employment was the best deal we had going at the time. I'm telling you, this is something better. Okay. All right, so much time we got. Okay, we're good. Okay, nothing about motivation, you know, work. So please read, you know, all that list on essential features of discovery on page 6 and 7. You know, please read through that and see those bullet points of what it is and what it isn't. Okay. So as I mentioned before, there's and as far as if anybody's following along in their thing, I'm on page 8 now. Is that there's systems fidelity and there's services fidelity. And systems, we're looking at authorization and access, because right out of the gate, people often don't know who's eligible for this. So we do a radical idea and think, hey, why don't we ask RSA? Maybe the Rehab Services Administration, who actually put customized employment right there in the law, and maybe the Center for Medicaid and Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, maybe hear what they say customized employment is. That might be a good idea. What the federal government, who is using matching state dollars, actually think you should be, who should be eligible, would be a good idea, not what we commonly think whoever is eligible. And here's what it says. It says if you're eligible for supported employment, you're eligible for customized employment. That's it. That's what the law says. It also says, by the way, that if anybody else, if you have other folks that you think you want to use customized employment for, then nobody's going to stop you if you think you have vendors that are good with that. Now, we're not going there today, and we're not going there in the next year or 2 years, I don't think. But we're going to go here shortly, and it's this. In this society, if you're white and you're a male and you're over 50 and you have a high school or less education, and you lose a job that you've had for a long time, the chances of you ever having another job, even remotely close to that job with the pay or anything about that job, characteristics of that job, is zero. Now, this is a white male society built for white men to succeed. And even white men in this society are absolutely done when you're over 50 and you don't have and you have a high school or less education. So just, I'm saying in the background, keep some of this information in mind as we go about doing this, because folks start to think, if this works so well for people that have these most significant challenges, maybe we ought to think about it a little bit broader. This is a way early conversation, but maybe one you might remember a year and a half or 2 from now, and people think maybe this might be the way that this person could best go about getting a job. Okay, discovery services fidelity. It's got the home and area visits. Used to say neighborhood, but now it says community. We'll talk to you about that later. It has these discovery activities that happen that are familiar to the person, and then it has less familiar discovery activities that where and when you're doing those things, you're only what you're really trying to find out is this: how does that person learn, and how are they best supported? How do they learn, and how are they best supported? And that information is gold once person is hired and has the job. I've just finished the consultative employment training and supports fidelity scale, the last fidelity scale, and it'll be available to states beginning, probably not any state until June. Now, I've already delivered that scale to California because California paid for it. They actually paid for all of the scales. They financed my research and what happened to develop these scales. So obviously they get first dibs on this. And I just want to say that this little piece I just brought up to you, how does a person learn and how are they best supported? It shows up again big time down the road after the person has a job, when you're using a consultancy model of training and support instead of a job coach model. When you don't have a job coach or a human service professional teaching somebody a job, but instead you have a coworker teaching a job, the same persons, or supervisor, the same persons that taught us jobs. So customized employment is all the way through. So when people say, okay, well, let's start out with a referral for discovery. No, you'll see right off the bat in a tenet, it says that you should make a customized employment referral. The first step is discovery. Because if you don't, if you say, let's do discovery first, and then let's make a decision after discovery what we want to buy then. No, that's using discovery as an evaluation tool to do a triage after discovery to make a decision about what's going to be a support employment person. We're going to make them a customized employment person. We're going to use placement services. Which one are we going to use? No, this is about, again, you can do it. You can do anything, right? You can do anything, but this is about, if you want to do it to fidelity to best practices, based on what the data said, will likely get the person, good jobs and good wages. It says you make something called a customized employment referral, knowing you just bought the entire process. You bought something called customized employment, and that's going to be just like it always was for support employment, by the way. You're going to say, yes, discovery comes first, but then comes immediately customized job development, then immediately followed by consultative training and supports. So that's how that system works. Informational interviews. Then one of my very favorite parts of the job, know this: every type of rehabilitative process that we've ever been involved in says this: let's figure out something about this person, do some evaluation, find out what their interests are, and then let's drive through this thing to verify what our original assumptions are by evaluations, by trials, by work trials, by tryouts, or whatever we want to call them. Let's figure out that what this is saying is that it's informational interviews, that you are driving towards uncertainty. You are driving, and you'll hear me say this again over these next few days, that you're trying to do is to increase possibilities, not to decrease them, not to narrow it down, not to say, oh, I think I know who you are, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to narrow you down into this little piece. This is how we've figured out what we're going to target, because that's why our brains go like that. And it's like, no, we're not targeting. Instead, we're opening it wider with more possibilities that are within the person's vocational themes. So when you go out for an informational interview, you're just not going out there willy-nilly and see what's out there. You're only going to places that match that person's vocational themes. And each person usually has 2 or 3, sometimes 4, but usually 3 is the most opportune number, 3 vocational themes. And you're only going to find out more about those jobs, about what about that kind of work, what happens in those places. So imagine, instead of going out anywhere, you instead only go to places where you know that it's going to have a likelihood that that person's going to continue working maybe forever in that type of work, doing those types of things, like those types of jobs. There's a vocational narrative, is again like something that a VR counselor has never seen before, usually, where it's actually a narrative. It's like well, this is like a story. You're telling a story about how this evolved and what you think about what it meant, the different pieces along the way, and different people you met and different interrelationships, what all that meant. And you're not only just reporting what happened. We went here at such and such and we met such and such. That's not what's in there. What's in there is what happened. What did that mean? What did that mean for the person's employment? And what did you learn there about other opportunities that you never had thought of, imagined before? So that's vocational profile narrative for you. And then that employment plan. And again, employment plan, yes, VR counselors are going to love the employment plan. They absolutely, it's like, wow, this is cool. You know, you've listed the actual names of real businesses, the contacts there, the phone numbers, the addresses. You've got it down about exactly where the job developer is going to go next to actually get the person a job. Wow, that is really awesome. It's not for, yeah, and it's great, but it's not for the VR counselor, the only thing discovery, every piece of it is only for the person who is going to do job development. And if it's the same person doing discovery and job development, that's cool. That's great. You know, because it's like, okay, I'm going to boss myself around, I guess. But so this stops that automatic job development, same old, how we're going to go out about it. Instead, you know, you're only going to be visiting places and learning more in areas that relate to the person. So that's what the employment plan is going to cover, those things. Let's see how much time we got. About 5 minutes, about 4 minutes. Okay. Quickly on the scoring. I'm on page 9, and I think, yeah, that's all we're going to do today. And then next time we'll go right into each of the tenets. So on page 9, scoring is -1. We shouldn't be doing that. Okay, that description describes pretty well things that we shouldn't be doing. So we need to try to fix that. Everything on the system sense is always above everybody's pay grade, right? Everybody's pay grade, that's above my pay grade. But when enough people say, hey, this is, now we have data saying we got to get this fixed because this is interfering with the rehabilitation process, then things tend to change. So -1 we should be doing. +1 means of all the choices, that is the best choice. So that's 1. 2 means everything in 1 and everything in 2. So 2 doesn't stand alone. 2 is everything in 1 and everything in 2. So you can't have 2. Well, everything in 2 is there, but something that was said in 1's not there. It means it's not. It means that ends up being a -1. You see, because it doesn't have even what's 1 in there. So 2 means everything in 1 and everything in 2. 3 means everything in 1, everything in 2, and everything in 3. And we'll go over this later, and you'll see with the scale how that works. But so now, if you had to put a letter grade on this, just to be clear, had a letter grade, -1, that'd be an F. And we shouldn't be doing that. All right, we need to figure out how to get that changed. You know, we need to see what needs to happen with what we can do to make that work better. And you know, we need to make some policy changes, some financing changes, some provider changes. We need to do something to fix that -1 and get it out of there. A 1 is an A. A 2 is an A+, and a 3 is an A++. Okay, got it? This is not a CBA. You know, this is an A. Great. It's great that you get a +1. It is even better than great if you get a +2, and it's even super great, if you will, if you get a +3. So these compound on each other. Got it? First, second, third. If you get a 3, you're saying everything in 1, everything in 2, and everything in 3. And that's unusual for fidelity scales to be built like this. But Again, I would say it's getting a lot of attention with that. The last thing I want to say is this. If you made a decision to work on behalf of people with disabilities at this time, I'm telling you, this is the time. this finally, we've had some really, really rough years. We've had a rough 20 years, actually. But I'm telling you, I think happy days are nearly here again. I want you to know that yes, the new administration in Washington is certainly looking at the fidelity scale. I know what they did last time because I'm old enough. I was there when supported employment first began, and what happened. And it was that the first 10 states, which South Dakota would be one of those first 10 states, in supported employment were given $500,000, equivalent to about $2.5 million today, just for infrastructure support to implement supported employment. Know that it is really, I think it's really important, these first 10 states that were wise enough, had leadership that was smart enough, or what I say, loved and cared about people with significant challenges to employment enough to say, hey, we want to try to get up to speed as we can with this. This looks like this is different and might make a big change. So no, other folks are noticing. They're making inquiries about it to let's say important people and in universities, and asking them what they should do. And then the answers have been universally, you should do everything possible to support states that are trying to develop customized employment with fidelity to best practices. So that's really a big statement, and really good to hear. I don't know if you looked at the details at the plan that the president just brought out, but if you just take a peek in there and see, and was that yesterday? If you just take a peek at that and see how much funding is in there for people with disabilities, it blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. One number was like $400 million new dollars. I mean, it really going after to end waiting lists for services, period, across all these systems, and which is really quite amazing. Never thought I'd see such a thing in my lifetime. So anyway, a good time. Know this about what we're doing, and I'll quit on this. Know this: there is only one government entity that is dead laser focused on employment of people with disabilities, and that is vocational rehabilitation. Obviously, from the way I'm talking, was I a part of vocational rehabilitation? Of course. And yes, I was in the state office and was the director of community integrated employment for a state. But just know this, that these systems, these Medicaid, mostly Medicaid funded systems and mental health systems, and that they desperately need the intervention, this psychosocial habilitation and rehabilitation methodology called customized employment in the lives of these citizens. And only vocational rehabilitation has the central focus, the time limited focus, to put people in the very best place they could be won't say eliminate, but say ameliorate whatever impact their disability has on their life in this particular society or culture. And so I would just say to you that there's a reason why many years ago, that European scholars did some research about what is the very best law ever written. What's not law about people with disabilities, what's the very best law ever written? And the answer came out to be, in a country called the United States, something called the 1973 Rehabilitation Act. Those amendments there, what all was in that act, turned out to be the most perfect law, because it was the first time in the history of planet Earth that a decision was made, we're going to not just help the greatest good for the greatest number. Instead, we're going to pass a law that's going to help people who, without these changes, without voc rehab, would not be able to participate in society at all. And all this customized employment fidelity scale is doing is trying to hold our feet to the fire somewhat. So we'll say, let's be sure we're walking our talk. Let's be sure we're at least in the game with this. So with that, let's stop and we'll get started again. Well, I guess actually, Jordan, is it this afternoon at 2 o'clock is the first victims of this. And Russell, as usual, Russell, did you want to say anything more about this, or I know you'll be on with me this afternoon. And
We'll just have more of a discussion, I think, this afternoon.
Yeah.
And I just want to let you and Jordan know I may be just a few minutes late. I have to pick up my kids from school. So
yeah, all right.
I shouldn't be that late. So.
But how exciting that you can actually say that.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. They're going strong.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. All right. Y'all take care. Thanks a lot. I'll and Jordan, I'll see you this afternoon. Oh, okay. See you. Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.